everyone, Chris here, and in this video I'm going to round up my top 10 New Zealand records of 2012. To be honest, I'm not fully convinced that these are the top 10 because I found it really hard to choose. I've been trying to whittle down the list for a couple of weeks now, and even just moments before this video I got it down to 17, and in the end I just had to grab 10 of those 17. So there's fantastic records that haven't made it into here. Maybe if I did the video tomorrow or yesterday, there would have been a different bunch of records here. I think 2012 has been a fantastic year for New Zealand music on vinyl. There's been more releases than ever before, I think, well, ever since the heyday of vinyl, probably since the 90s. I can't really keep count of how many releases there have been compared to, say, even last year, when it seemed like there were long waits waiting for someone to release something on record, and you'd wait and wait and wait, and now they're coming thick and fast. So while it might not be the definitive top 10, here certainly are 10 that I've really loved this year, and I think are worthy of mention. These are in alphabetical order rather than kind of a countdown to a number one. But first I'm going to show you Belter Space, Strobosphere. The first Belter Space album for over a decade. I think it was 13 years. This has come out on WaihekeRecords. A reduced lineup of Belter Space, just 2 of the members, and apparently there's another one in the can which does feature an earlier recording which may come out next year. But when I put this on, it just sat alongside all of my other Belter Space albums in my collection, which was a great thing. It didn't really do, maybe it's a little different. Maybe some of the vocals on here are a little different, but there's tracks which I think just stand up with classic Belter Space tracks. The title track Strobosphere, Polarize are 2 that really stand out. Island, and if you like kind of, I suppose, layer upon layer of kind of that harmonic feedback, guitar-based material, then Belter Space are your band, and this won't disappoint any previous fans. So I was thrilled, along with many others, to see this released in 2012. Next up, one of the definite highlights of the year for me, and I just got this in the last week. Die Die Die, Harmony. I'm thinking maybe it's their 4th album. It was released earlier in the year. The vinyl's only just come out. The vinyl's on Golden Antenna from Europe, and I just think that Die 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 have progressed amazingly throughout their career. They have this really kind of noisy, quite angular sound, but on this it's still got that kind of, look at this, beautiful, I think 100 on this blue and the rest on black vinyl. It still has this kind of angular stop-start kind of feel to it, but there's, I don't know, you get that kind of melodic feedback that kind of almost soars. There's moments on here that remind me of some of my favourite New Zealand bands like HDU and Belter Space, and there was a few years ago, I think it was 2008, the album Promises came out, which was produced by Shane Carter of the Straight Ticket Fits and Dimmer, and there was a song in there, Sideways Here They Come, or Sideways Here We Come, one or the other, and that kind of pointed in a new direction for Die Die Die, where they were doing something that was, rather than just kind of straight ahead, kind of thrashy, punky, noisy, guitar-based things that had just more elements, more nuance to it, and I think that's really kind of come to fruition on this LP. I love it. It blows me away. I've been listening to it lots and lots. Early in their career, Die 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 wanted to be, maybe they worked with Steve Albini, or worked at Steve Albini's studio, and I think maybe on this, some of that shellac sound has kind of found its way through. It's got that angularity, that solidness to it, but with all sorts of different kind of angles and emotions, and yeah, I'm knocked out by it. Dido Di's harmony. Next up, what we're listening to now, Gate, Damned Revolutions, and there were 2 Gate releases this year. One was a reissue of a 90s album, The Jew Line, that only came out in CD in the 90s. It got its first vinyl release this year, in an extended, remixed format, double LP, beautiful, beautiful collection, and you know, I almost included that. I mean, it's an absolute classic, but I decided to go for the new release here from Gate, which is Mike Morley. He's a member of the Dead Sea, solo, just him, guitar, there's some drums on one side of this. It's just 2 tracks, Turned and Glowing Inwardly, Turning in Towards the Light. His vocals, his guitar, and drums on one side. And what I like about this is it's that juxtaposition between beauty and brutality. I mean, it's summed up on the cover. You look at that, it's a beautiful cover, but it's this kind of brutal architecture and, you know, treeless, lifeless environment, and concrete and grey, and you know, the album's got the elements of that, with the long drawn out guitar drone noise, but he creates beauty from those elements as well, and I really like that. And the title as well, Damned Revolutions. You know, is he talking about the kind of the communist socialist dream that's gone wrong that creates architecture like this? Is he talking about the fact that that so many people would just be turned off by the music which is on the disc, you know, because they just hear noise and feedback? I love the play on words with it. Gaytime. This was a number of really, really great kind of garage punk releases that came out this year, and it was pretty hard to choose between them. The Raw Nerves put out a fantastic, short, sharp garage punk LP, self-released, as was this Gaytime on 112 Records, hand-printed, screen printed sleeves, and I should also mention the Sound Recordings compilation. I showed a video or so back, also kind of covering this garage punk kind of vein, but this one, I mean, for a number of elements. I mean, look at the thing, it's probably the most beautiful record I've bought this year. This kind of greeny brown splattered vinyl, the screen printed sleeve, they're all different because they've all got different shades and colouring on them. I think I said when I initially showed this on a video that it kind of reminded me of the Ramones. Not completely in sound, although it's got some similar elements, but just the kind of the bratishness, you know, song, if you break my heart, I'll break your face. Do you think I'm ugly? You put the hex on me, I don't dig you. It's, yeah, great fun record, and I mean, the song, the hex song, you put the hex on me, whenever I play this on the radio, I find it hard to play anything else from this because it's just such a standout. Put that on the way later. Here's another one which I found it really hard to choose because, again, there's a number of bands that might say you fall within the same kind of genre. This is Hope and Wire by Easton, a Littleton band. This kind of well, on here you've got country rockers, country folk blues. You've got songs which have that kind of social commentary and passion and anger of the Clash, but with that kind of Americana kind of sound. And it's a double LP released on Rough Peel Records, which is a label associated with the Rough Peel record shop in Wellington here in New Zealand. And as I said, I found it hard to choose because there's other bands that maybe fall within the same type of genre, particularly the great record by Delaney Davidson and Marlon Williams, Sad But True, which is on Littleton Records. The Eastern are a Littleton band. There's kind of a Littleton sound which has that that country, blues, folk kind of influence, and Adam McGrath and Delaney Davison and Marlon Williams all play together, and they've cooperated on some charity CDs this year for relief from the Christchurch earthquakes, and this record comments about the Christchurch earthquakes. When I heard it was going to be a double, I was a little cynical, can they carry it for a double LP, but they did, and so in the end I had to pick this out over the others. As I say, it may be different if I was choosing tomorrow, but really, really good record. I think 400 copies of that were pressed up. Lawrence Arabia, The Sparrow. I'm a real fan of Lawrence Arabia. He writes these beautiful lyrical pop songs. This has got strings, and it's he's just a fantastic pop writer. His last album, Chant Darling, was a standout. This got a lot of the reviews talked about it being darker, but I don't hear that really. I think there's a mixture of kind of noisier songs like early kneecappings, but Travelling Shoes just really. There's not a track on here I don't like. Really nicely done. And this is released on Ballyunion from the UK, and Lawrence Arabia's been getting a lot of international attention actually. He's been touring the world, featured on the NPR All Songs Considered podcast, and the attention's well deserved, and I'd recommend this to anyone. There were a few older artists, artists who have been around for a long time, who released material this year and showed Belter Space, first release after 13 years. Gate, Mike Morley's been releasing albums for a long time. The Puddle, second album out in a couple of years after a long hiatus. This one's actually 2 EPs, Secret Holiday and Victory Blues, 1 EP on each side of the 12-inch, although I think it works together as an album. There's slightly different players on each side, and George Henderson's the singer, the songwriter, and I think this is some of his best work. The last album, Playboys in the Bush, was a standout. His voice isn't to everyone's liking, it's not a traditional kind of voice, but he just writes these fantastic psych pop songs, and they're really, really great songs, and this stands up with any of his material and is a really, really strong LP. It's released on WaihekeRecords, which is run by George's brother, Ian Henderson, great guy who is really, really into psych indie pop, and releases a handful of records, normally in pretty limited runs. He's had one of his bands, Opposite Sex, picked up this year and it gained a lot of international attention. It's had a UK release, and I'm really glad to hear that, and good luck to you, Ian, because you deserve it. You've got a passion for the music. Ian plays in this band as well, and I think maybe this will be overlooked by many, but I think it deserves wider attention. The Puddle deserve wider attention, and this is a great New Zealand LP from the last 12 months. Okay, Tiny Ruins, Some Were Meant for Sea. This was originally released in 2011, and I think in my best albums video for 2011 I mentioned this. I said that it was one that I was disappointed hadn't come out on vinyl, and probably would have been on my list if it had. But this year it did finally get a vinyl release through Spunk Records in Australia, and this is all by Holly Fulbrook, Tiny Ruins, and so it's basically all her, mainly her and her guitar, and quite kind of contemplative, quiet, thought-provoking songs. It has a despite the kind of, I suppose, the limited palette, it has a real depth to it, and I always just get absolutely hooked on the song Pressed with Balloons, which is about the Brazilian priest who tried to break the world record of distance travel floating with helium balloons, and he was lost at sea. She's just written a beautiful, beautiful song about the kind of poignancy of that, the beauty of the idea, and the sadness of it, and she seems to sum up all of those emotions perfectly in this. So really, really great that that's had a release. As I said, 2012 is a year, I think, that New Zealand vinyl, it's the vinyl revival's well and truly entrenched, it's taken place, and one of the indicators of that was at Record Store Day in April, when for the first time there was a New Zealand Record Store Day exclusive, and it was this, Toy Love. It's live at the Glue Pot. Recorded live over 2 nights in 1980, the Glue Pot in Auckland, and released by WaihekeRecords, the store in Auckland, in a run of 400, 200 of them on pink, 200 on black. It came out on Record Store Day. It was great. There was a big queue at the door, people were rushing in to get it. It charted, they all sold out in a couple of days, so we had, you know, Toy Love in the top 10 album charts in New Zealand. Absolutely fantastic. And lastly, sorry, I'll just reach for this. There's been a number of really significant archival reissues this year. Material that it's been out of press for a long time. Stuff like The Great Unwashed, The Clean's Oddities getting its first vinyl release. There was a great compilation on Flying Nun, Time to Go, The Psychedelic Moment, 1981 to 1986. And it was really hard to choose, but I did want to include a reissue because I think it's been a significant part of the vinyl scene here in New Zealand this year. So I picked out this, which is Pin Group, Ambivalence, a compilation of all of the recorded and released material by Pin Group, which was the first Flying Nun release. So it collects together their singles and a couple of live tracks, and there's a CD of further live tracks. And these records have been incredibly hard to get. They're an incredibly important part of New Zealand's musical history, so to have them compiled and released is fantastic. Have it in vinyl format, which of course is, you know, how it originally came about. And so yeah, and if you haven't heard Pin Group, a lot of people make comparisons to Joy Division. There's also comparisons to Velvet Underground, but it really is kind of drawing together those elements and creating that unique, independent, alternative 80s New Zealand sound. So, you know, a real key work in that. So do check that out. So thank you for watching. Sorry, it's a bit of a long video. I ended up having more to say about some of those records that I originally intended. It's been a great year for New Zealand vinyl releases. I'm looking forward to many more. There's still more 2012 releases that maybe will get here before Christmas. Maybe they'll arrive next year and they might show up in next year's videos. But thanks for watching the videos throughout the year. I appreciate your feedback. Remember that you can check out videos, radio shows, playlists, other vinyl news on my Facebook page, facebook.com/countingthebeat, on Twitter, twitter.com/WaihekeRecords, or my website, countingthebeat.gen.nz. Have a happy new year, everyone.